restful and productive weekend. Welcome to our three CEOs, Ms. Zapata, Mr. Irizarry, and Mr. Saka. Mr. Irizarry, Mr. Saka, I have to swear you in. Would you please stand and raise your right hand? You affirm that the testimony that you will provide today is true, correct, and based on your own and personal knowledge, and that to the best of your understanding, none of the information you will provide today is misleading or untruthful. Welcome, gentlemen. Welcome, Ms. Zapata. It's a privilege to have the three CEOs here this morning to answer our council's questions. I know you're very busy, and we appreciate very much what you do for Puerto Rico. I should have announced that we're here at 9 o'clock this morning for our rate case proceeding. It's December 8th, 2025. And the plan for today is we'll walk our way through the subjects that are listed in the original agenda, starting with an over budgeting assists utility financial success. Next, what are the owner's interests? In what ways do the owners influence the CEO's decisions? Next, is there a clear line between costs covered by the OMA guaranteed fixed fee and costs recovered as pass-through costs? Next, are there any conflicts relating to the statutory requirement of 100% renewable energy by 2050? Next, is the use of affiliates appropriate? On fuel department budget, that we will be covering, I think, at this point later this afternoon with Mr. Scoot, and so that will not be on this morning's agenda. And lastly, anything about FOMB and P3 and their roles. Now, my plan is, as usual, we'll start with questions from the Bureau's consultants. That will be Mr. Ron Nelson. Ron, let's get you with your video showing, and let's get you up here so we can test your voice. Good morning. Now, it's very early in the morning where he is on the West Coast. Ron, let's get your voice and make sure we can hear you, sir. It's not working yet. I think you're muted.
Mr. Hempling, while we're waiting on Mr. Nelson, I believe there were two other agenda items on the conflicts panel that you didn't mention. H, frequent changes in high-level personnel, and I, use of seconded employees. I just wanted to clarify.
Good point. I forgot to turn my page. It's more complicated than I thought. All right, 1 second. Let's see if we can get this straightened out here. All right, Ron, can we hear you?
Morning.
Oh, Gerardo, we're still not hearing anything. Try again, Ron.
Good morning, everyone.
Okay, that's good. Can we get a little bit louder there, Gerardo, can we? You good? Let's try one more time. One more time, Ron. You just muted yourself.
Can you hear me all right?
Yeah. Okay, so colleagues on the panel, you can see that there's going to be about a 2-second delay. So make sure you pause a bit before answering a question, and Mr. Nelson, make sure you pause a bit before asking the next question. So there may not be questions from Mr. Neville. Check with the bondholders and anybody else to see if they have questions on a topic. I'm not going to insist that we have perfection in terms of alignment between a question and the subtopics. We all do pretty well here. There may be some slip, but we'll try to stay within the topic lines. Do you folks in the front row have enough space there? Not that I can do anything about it at this stage. Everybody okay? All right. Okay, thank you. Okay, then everybody ready to go? Everybody know the plan? Okay, yes, ma'am.
Yes, Mr. Irizarry will be testifying in Spanish. He will be able to listen to the questions in English, but he will be testifying in Spanish.
Okay, Gerardo, I need a...
That will also be true. This is Miralis Valle on behalf of PREPA. That will also be true for PREPA CEO.
Okay, let's just take a minute and get that set up. I should have asked ahead of time. I'm sorry.
Mr. Hempling, while we wait on the,
One second. Is this an extra here? Those are yours. Yeah. Yes, ma'am.
while we wait on the technical part, there's something that I want to bring to your attention. It's time sensitive, so I want to take the opportunity. Is that in the draft order that you circulated yesterday, it states that PREPA's controller said last week, if I recall correctly, I'm quoting from the order, from the draft order, that PREPA did not replenish the accounts because it did not have the funds, and that it did not have the funds because the rates were too low. I review the responses from Mr. Ador, and that it's not an accurate representation of what Mr. Ador stated. And I just wanted to bring that to your attention because since the order has not been issued, I think we still have time to address that.
Well, it's probably going to be issued any moment now. So let me just send a note, tell her to hold it. Do you know what the accurate statement was?
Yes, I have.
All right,
I have a transcript here.
Well, just give me 1 second. Let me send a note to Sonia, and thank you for that alertness. That's what we're here for. Hold on, please. Pardon me, panelists. Sometimes this happens. Just tell her to hold. All right. Let me hear from you, Ms. Valle. How would you amend what the sentence says? Well, I have a better idea. Let's not hold off the panelists now. We have all day to get the order out. The reason why I send these things out ahead of time is so people can have notice and they have maximum time to prepare. Let's handle this at the break.
Okay.
And we'll deal with it then. If you could just tell Sonia, we'll deal with it at the break. Thank you, sir. All right, Mr. Nelson, you're on. Thank you, Ms. Valle, again.
Good morning. The first questions are for Genera.
Somehow you just muted yourself. Hold on. Let's see what's going on here. Mr. Nelson, let me hear from you again. Just state your name, please.
Ron Nelson.
All right. Well, let's get the question again. Let's see if we can make this work.
Yeah, the audio on your side is also cutting out, so I don't know if it's a muting issue, but the audio is kind of poor going both ways.
All right. Well, let's go. You let us know when it doesn't work, and we'll do the best we can. Go ahead, sir.
Are you generally familiar with the operation cost efficiency metric?
No.
Can we pull up Genera's OMA Annex 2?
While we're waiting, Mr. Irizarry, do you understand that under the OMA, there are cost efficiency performance metrics? Yes, sir. And are you aware that those metrics provide a potential payment based on the difference between approved budgeted expenses and actual expenses? Okay. Well, why don't we have the questions continue and we'll see where we go from here. Go ahead, Mr. Nelson.
I'm sorry that your audio cut out for me, so I'm not sure.
All right. Well, here's what we'll do. I've got the questions. I'm going to ask the questions, and Mr. Nelson, if and when we can get this fixed, you. Okay, Mr. Nelson, I'm going to ask the questions, and if we can get this fixed at the break, you can take over or supplement. Okay, Mr. Nelson, can you hear me okay?
Yes, thank you.
Okay, well, that's how we'll proceed, and I apologize for this. This is actually the first day it didn't work out. We've actually done pretty well for 4 weeks, but it's nobody's fault. Mr. Gerardo Santiago has done a fantastic job, and we appreciate your patience. All right, Mr. Irizarry, the general point we want to understand here, sir, is whether and the extent to which at Genera there is some incentive to inflate your budgets so as to improve your earnings. And it's not an accusation, it's a check because the Bureau needs to understand whether there's any kind of conflict of interest. You follow me, sir, in terms of my purpose?
Yes,
Okay, thank you very much. So we already discussed with you that you have knowledge of the key language and OMA. Let me ask you this then. Can you identify for us examples of the risk that, by the way, are you involved in establishing the budgets?
that's done by Maria Sanchez Brad, our CFO. I just oversee like the last budget before it's approved, is sent to the approval.
Yes, and I'm sorry, you're welcome to respond in Spanish. And the other thing we have to make sure of is because there's a delay with the translators, don't start answering the question. Let's see. Don't start answering the question until I give you a signal. That's how this works, all right? And we apologize for all this. So again, well, what is your role in overseeing the budgets? You delegate that to your CFO and other individuals?
Sí.
And, well, what role do you personally play?
A mí me presentan el budget final antes de ser sometido para aprobación ante el PREP.
Do you take any special actions to ensure that the budget is not inflated beyond what are reasonable costs? And if so, what actions do you take, sir?
So, el primer benchmark que yo, ¿verdad? Utilizo es comparar el budget de Genera con los budgets de prepa en los pasados años, y ese es el primer benchmark que utilizo. Hay dos tipos, ¿verdad? de secciones del budget, la parte operativa, la parte capital. La parte capital, yo le puedo asegurar a los ratepayers que nosotros la utilizamos y la hemos estado utilizando casi al 100%. Y el presupuesto que nosotros tenemos para lo que son NEPs, aproximadamente $100 millones al año, eso es bien parecido a lo que Prepa tenía anteriormente. En la parte operativa, hacemos un bottom-up budget. Eso I got stressed with this. Hacemos un bottom-up budget, se incluye todo el input que viene de las plantas, y así, ¿verdad? Así que se hace como tal el presupuesto.
All right, 1 second, please. Let's see what's going on here. Yeah. All right, let's continue. We're doing bar. So I understood you to say a couple of things. One is that you compare the proposed budgets to PREPA's preceding budgets, yes?
Sí.
And another is, and what was the other one again?
Bueno, estaba explicando, ¿verdad? Lo que son los capital expenditures y los operational expenditures. Los proyectos capitales, ese budget son alrededor de $100 millones al año. Eso se compara con lo que Prepa anteriormente tenía. Esa parte de capital, el año pasado nosotros utilizamos, yo diría, un 99% del presupuesto. No es, o sea, los ratepayers no se tienen que preocupar que nosotros estemos haciendo un over budget de esa línea en específico, porque En realidad se utiliza todo.
Let's see if Ron can try again. Mr. Nelson, let's see if you can check it out again before we move on. I just wanted, there seems to be some confusion. Do you recall my swearing you in this morning at 9:01 this morning? Mr. Irdizadi?
Sí.
Mr. Saka? Okay, and Ms. Zapata, we swore you in last time you were here.
Thank you.
Okay, Mr. Nelson, let's see if you can come back now. Speak up, please.
Good morning, but the audio is cutting out both directions for me still. I'm not catching the answers.
Okay, well, we're catching your question, so why don't you go ahead with the next question and we'll see what we can do. Go ahead.
I apologize, Mr. Hempling, but I'm not sure what you've asked. And I
Okay,
cannot
well, you can
understand. I don't have the translation, so I don't know what the
Okay,
answers
got
are.
it. All right, then I'll continue and we'll see if we can fix this at the break. Sorry again, folks, for this. Mr. Saka, let's talk to you now about the interest that LUMA's the operations and success of LUMA. First of all, are you the person ultimately responsible for addressing the potential for conflict of interest, Mr. Saka?
Yes, sir.
And I've, of course, studied your testimony carefully. You're familiar with the, what is this acronym, OCI-AMP? What does that stand for again?
It's
Into the microphone.
just 1 second.
Yeah, we just want to get it on the record. Thank you, Mr.
This is Brett Silver for the record. It's the
Spielberg.
Organizational Conflict of Interest Avoidance and Mitigation Plan.
Thank you.
It's a mouthful.
Thank you.
You're familiar with this document, right?
Yes, sir. I'm also familiar with all of the other documents that ensure conflicts of interest are avoided, mitigated. So I have them actually with.
All right, thank you. So we will talk about them. So somewhere in this OCI-AMP document defines different forms of conflicts of interest. Is that right?
Yes, sir. That is correct.
And those forms include impaired objectivity, unequal access to information, and biased ground rules.
Correct.
I'm just setting this up so we can move forward. I'm not going to try to trick you or anything. And an example cited in this document is circumstances where a contractor's work under one contract could entail it evaluating itself through an assessment of performance under another contract or through an evaluation of proposals.
Yes, sir.
And do you oversee activities at LUMA that could resemble those types of situations?
Through my chief procurement officer, yes, as well as our code of conduct, which has multiple different rules around how we ensure that there's no conflict of interest.
So thank you. Let me understand precisely how, is there a specific department that deals with conflicts of interest, or is this a specific person, or how does that work?
Sir, there is a compliance department that is led by Angel Roger, who is present here with us. He has a dual reporting responsibility. He reports to me on day-to-day operations, and then he reports to the board of directors for compliance matters. Under compliance matters, we have a slew of different matters that have to be checked upon. One example of that is if one of our parent companies is going to be participating in a bid, then LUMA turns that over to a third party, which is called the 3PPO. The 3PPO, Mr. Hempling, is a contract, which I have right here with me, between the Puerto Rico government and an independent company, procurement company in Puerto Rico, who conducts and makes the decisions of who wins. So to answer your question in short order is yes, we have a compliance department. And in addition to that, we have an audit and compliance committee at the board of directors level, to whom my chief legal and compliance officer reports to. I am not able to influence Angel Rogers' compensation. I'm not able to influence, whether he gets fired or not. It's an independent part of our compliance program to ensure that there is independence, not only with compliance, but also our general auditor, who reports only to the board of directors.
So if Mr. Roger were to suspect you, not to suggest that he would, of any sort of misbehavior, he would have access directly to, he could go over your head.
Yes,
And-
sir.
And have access directly to the owner's board for support in dealing with that situation.
That is correct, sir. And in addition to that, there is a charter for the compliance committee, and there's also a charter for the committee at the board level for both.
When you say a charter,
It indicates what the different roles and responsibilities are for the committee at the board level, and it also outlines what the responsibilities are for Mr. Roger in terms of being the chief compliance officer.
thank you. And Mr. Irizarry, may I ask you, you've heard Mr. Saka describe the relationship among himself, his chief legal officer, and the ownership, correct, sir?
Sí.
And is there something similar? How would you compare your situation to Mr. Saka's situation, Mr. Irizarry? Go ahead, one second. Go ahead.
So, la nuestra es un poco más sencilla. Nosotros tenemos también un compliance officer, ¿verdad? Se reporta a nuestro general counsel y ellos también se reportan al board. En el caso de que alguna de nuestras afiliadas o nuestras matrices quieran participar de algún proceso, tenemos el mismo procedimiento a través del PPO para hacer esas contrataciones. Es bastante similar. En el caso de nosotros, utilizó el PPO desde este año por primera vez, y no vislumbramos el uso para algún otro proceso competitivo en los próximos años.
Thank you. So we'll discuss the role of the 3PPO and the P3A later in this conversation. I want to stick for a moment in your organizational structure. So you have a general counsel, correct?
Yes, sir.
That's Mr. Futch, and he's the person who is in charge of compliance concerning conflict of interest. Is that what you said, sir?
The compliance officer, sorry for that. El oficial de cumplimiento se llama Christian y él se reporta a Kevin Futch.
And is there a role played by your ownership in terms of concern with conflict of interest?
¿Puede hacer la pregunta de otra forma?
Yes, I'm sorry for being unclear. You heard Mr. Saka describe a situation where his chief compliance officer has access directly to the owners of Luma. Do you recall that?
Yes.
And do you have something similar in your corporate structure, sir? One second.
Sí. Nuestro general counsel también tiene, es similar ¿verdad? Esa conexión con el board.
Okay. I understood you to say that your general counsel similarly can go to the board of directors of the owners of Herneta if he sees a problem concerning conflicts of interest. Is that what you said, sir?
Sí.
Okay. Let me pause and see if there are questions from anybody else on the subject of the intercorporate relationships in terms of oversight. Any
Mr.
questions?
Hempling,
Sir?
may I just make a comment?
Sir?
The first comment you made was whether our chief compliance officer had access to the owners. The access is to the board of directors. And the reason it's set up that way is because there are 2 independent board of directors out of the 4. So his access is directly to the board of directors to whom I report. I just wanted to make that clarification
Thank you. And that is the board of directors of which corporation?
of Luna Energy and Luma Servco.
Sorry, the second one?
Luma Servco, which has no really.
But what about board of directors of the entities that own those 2 companies?
The board of directors on their side, on Quanta side or Luma side, we don't deal with
At all?
at all.
Okay.
We
I understand.
work directly with the board of directors that I report to and that my colleague reports to as well.
All right. Are there any questions from anybody on this first topic, which is the intercorporate relationships, before we move to my next topic, the compensation?
I have questions.
Sir?
I have a question.
Please.
Lo voy a hacer en español porque es para William Irizarry.
Para Winnie.
¿Ah?
Winnie Irizarry.
¿Cómo es? Winnie.
Winnie Irizarry.
Ingeniero Irizarry. Usted testificó en el día de hoy que Genera no infla los presupuestos porque ustedes gastan todo el presupuesto que se le asigna.
Hablé específicamente del capital.
El capital. ¿Y el resto del presupuesto?
Perdón. Sí, hablé del capital. Fue un ejemplo que di. El operacional, también hemos estado utilizando básicamente un 90%, 95% del presupuesto. Pero para lo que son los ratepayers, ¿verdad? Para el consumidor, para esa preocupación que ellos puedan tener con este específico tema, el presupuesto que nosotros manejamos es similar al que Prepa manejaba anteriormente. De hecho, el primer año de Genera, nosotros llevamos solamente 2 años. El primer año de Genera, utilizamos el mismo presupuesto que Prepa tenía anteriormente. Y con todo eso, conseguimos ahorro. Y nuestra visión es siempre buscar ahorros, siempre. So, en cuestión de, ¿verdad?, esa preocupación que pueden tener los ratepayers, nosotros vamos a utilizar el presupuesto que nos den a cabalidad y vamos siempre a buscar ahorro. Esa es nuestra visión.
Ok, pero esos ahorros, ustedes tienen un incentivo de esos ahorros porque ustedes reciben la mitad de esos ahorros.
De los ahorros que nosotros...
Y con esos ahorros, ¿ustedes tienen algún incentivo en lograr eso, en tener esos ahorros?
Sí, eso es correcto. De todo lo que nosotros consigamos ahorrar al consumidor de ese presupuesto, en teoría, y digo en teoría porque todavía no hemos recibido ninguna compensación por eso, nos tocaría el 50%. Así fue que se estructuró el contrato y así fue que se aprobó el contrato, ¿verdad?, por el negociado de energía, por P3, en ese momento que el contrato se firmó.
Y eso no sería un
Wait.
conflicto.
I will remind us all that I think, if I recall, thanks to the questioning by the bondholders last week, we are going to get a write-up from Ms. Sanchez-Bras that describes precisely how that works. Is that right, Ms. Vasquez?
For the bonuses, right? For the employee bonuses?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes. I understood from last week that you were going to write the questions and send them to us. If that's not the case, we can, I have some notes on the questions, so we were just waiting for an official write-up from the.
Well, why
don't you
write the questions up?
Okay, I will.
It looks like I allocated my weekend time to other tasks than this one, so why don't you handle it and run it by counsel for bondholders to see if he views it as the complete set of questions. Would you mind doing that and check in with Mr. Vasquez Melendez as well? Would you mind doing that?
No, I won't.
All right, thank you. Back to you, Commissioner.
Sí, eso no creería tener ese incentivo de ahorro de utilizar menos el presupuesto, no crea un conflicto de interés en aumentar el presupuesto que están solicitando. Entiendo que fue la pregunta inicial que hizo el oficial examinador.
Pues como le dije, el presupuesto de nosotros es similar al que Prepa manejaba antes de que Genera empezara hace 2 años y medio. Todos los ahorros que nosotros hemos conseguido han sido por ideas de nosotros. Te puedo dar una, por ejemplo. Hemos hecho una reorganización en la estructura que maneja la operación y el mantenimiento de las plantas. Por ejemplo, antes teníamos operación y mantenimiento por cada planta, un jefe de operación y mantenimiento en el norte, en el sur. Ahora lo dividimos por lo que es norte, 1 para las 2 y sur, 1 para las 2. Eso es un ejemplo, ¿verdad? Que son ideas que nosotros estamos implementando para que hayan los ahorros.
Ok, pero ahora en el
Wait.
En el presupuesto de ahora que están solicitando es un incremento, no es el mismo que tenía Prepa. Entonces, ¿aplicaría lo mismo o podría haber un conflicto de interés en este incremento?
El presupuesto que se está, ¿verdad? Pidiendo para los próximos 3 años tiene, comparado con el de Prepa, la diferencia más grande está en los proyectos capitales que nosotros queremos hacer. Y como dije anteriormente, los proyectos capitales nosotros utilizamos el 99% del presupuesto. Y ha sido la experiencia que hemos tenido en los últimos 2 años. Más bien, nosotros lo que queremos con ese presupuesto es seguir haciendo reparaciones en las plantas para tener, ¿verdad?, un mejor reliability para los clientes. No somos nosotros, no es la intención nosotros elevar el presupuesto y ganarnos el dinero así porque sí. Eso no hace sentido.
No tengo más preguntas.
Mr. Irizarry, let me make sure I'm understanding things. And again, we'll get something official from Ms. Sanchez-Bras through these questions. But I want to just pose a couple of hypotheticals to you and have you answer straightforwardly. Nobody's being accusatory. We simply want to understand the situation. My understanding of the situation for Genera, which is different from Luma, is that, and I'm just going to hypothesize, that if you propose a budget that exceeds the costs that you know you can achieve, and if you persuade the Energy Bureau to approve that budget, and if you then end the year with your expected costs and they are lower than your higher budgeted costs, somebody benefits financially from that difference. Is that correct, sir? Please.
O sea, es correcto lo que dicen, pero no es la forma de que nosotros estamos trabajando. O sea, nosotros no vamos a inflar ningún presupuesto y más allá que eso, antes de que el incentivo se pague, tiene que pasar por la aprobación del P3, del PREP, y no creo que ellos vayan a dejar autorizar un incentivo cuando vean algo así.
So thank you, Mr. Irizarry. I appreciate that directness and I think also the accuracy. So really what you're saying is that it's up to you and up to the commissioners to ensure that despite this incentive to inflate the budget, that inflation does not occur, that it's up to you and it's up to the commissioners. Is that basically what you are saying, sir?
Sí, y el P3 también. nuestro cliente que maneja nuestro contrato.
And the very same incentive exists for Genera to, once it receives approval of a budgeted amount, to underspend that budgeted amount, because once again, that difference would be evidence that would contribute to somebody's additional compensation. I expect that you would have the same answer with the same insistence that you would make the effort and the Energy Bureau would make the effort to ensure that there was not excess cutting of actual spending. Is that right? Or do you go ahead?
Sí.
What have you done within the organization to assure that employees who are making the budget decisions and employees who are making the spending decisions don't become influenced by the opportunity to make more money if they behave in a certain way? What have you done to prevent that, you yourself? 1 second. Go ahead, sir.
Bueno, primero, no creo que ningún ejecutivo de Genera, ¿verdad?, tome una decisión como esa. Nosotros somos profesionales en lo que hacemos. El presupuesto, por ejemplo, capital, mi ejecutivo de proyecto lo que me dice es que mientras más le den, más él usa. Todo lo contrario a lo que usted está diciendo.
And if I understood it from having Mr. Scoot here for several days, is that the reason why he would use more is because there's always more to do.
Well,
1 second. Yeah, I have the same problem. Don't worry about it. Go ahead, sir.
First time here.
Go ahead, sir.
Sí, como dije, si estas plantas son unas plantas muy viejas, nosotros empezamos hace 2 años, ¿verdad?, a hacer todo lo que es la operación de mantenimiento y yo diría que hemos encontrado mucho trabajo que no se realizó en los pasados 10 años y estamos haciendo lo que nosotros le llamamos un catch-up a lo que es el mantenimiento. O sea, siempre en lo que es proyectos y operación, siempre va a haber oportunidad para utilizar todo el presupuesto.
All right, thank you. Let's see if there are questions from some of the parties on the topics we've covered so far. Let me get a show of hands. Okay, let's start with bondholders, and then we'll go to Mr. Agrayit. Mr. Brady.
Thank you. For the record, Corey Brady, Weil, Gotchel, and Manges, speaking on behalf of the bondholder interveners. And before I go to the witnesses, Mr. Hempling, I just wanted to clarify, was this the first agenda topic, can over budgeting assist utility financial success?
That was my valiant effort. You can see the situation I have here. My consultant who knows all this material is basically out of it. I've got the script, which is not lining up perfectly with the agenda. We're going to take our time and make sure things are covered. But yes, my intent at this point, turning things over to questioners, is to cover this original topic of incentive to over budget or underspend. And the next topic I'll go to, just so people know, according to my notes that I have here, has to do with the payment of the executives by the parent company. Does that help, Mr. Brady?
It does. And like you, I'll do my best to try to, fit within this topic, but there may be some shuffling later on.
We're all going to do our best, and I appreciate it. Go ahead, sir.
Thank you. Okay, so the first few questions will be for you, Mr. Irizarry. Good morning.
Morning.
Are you aware that Genera witnesses in this proceeding have taken the position that if federal funds later come in on a project that was funded by ratepayers, that Genera would be able to keep 50% of that amount as profit under its GOMA?
Can you repeat the question?
Sure. So are you aware that during this rate proceeding, several Genera witnesses have taken the position that if federal funds are later received on a capital project that was originally funded by ratepayers, that would be savings and Genera would be able to keep 50% of the amount as profit?
No estoy al tanto de eso, pero si me puede dar un ejemplo de un proyecto en específico capital.
Well, I'll represent to you that Genera witnesses have said that. It's on the record of this hearing. So are you saying that position surprises you? You weren't aware of that position?
Objection argumentative. He answered the question.
I'm sorry, what is the objection?
It's being argumentative. He already answered the question that he is not aware of that testimony.
This is a new question.
He's asking a different question then, and this is pretty important. So thank you for your alertness, Ms. Vasquez. Go ahead and ask the question once again, please.
Yes, so to save time, I will represent to you that Genera witnesses have in fact testified to that effect, and it's on the record of this hearing. So since you said you weren't aware of that, what I'm asking you is, does that come as a surprise to you?
Mi posición es que quizás eso no se entendió del todo. La posición de Genera no es cobrar el 50% de los ratepayers cuando es un proyecto capital. Si hay un ahorro operativo con una idea de Genera, sí, pero no es del costo capital, no es recuperar el 50% del costo capital. Eso no se entendió correctamente. Y te puedo dar un ejemplo.
Okay, so I want to make sure I'm clear on this. Then you're saying that it is not Genera's position as Genera's CEO that if federal funds are later received on a project that was funded by ratepayers, that would constitute GOMA.
Wait.
Cuando es un proyecto capital, no. Si es un ahorro por una idea de Genera, por ejemplo, si con el proyecto de las baterías se ahorra dinero operacionalmente porque no se despachan unidades que utilicen diésel o combustible más caro, eso sí es una idea de Genera, no es el costo capital, es el operacional.
Okay, so in your view, the savings incentive only operates on the O&M side of things, not the CapEx side of things.
Sí.
Okay, 1 second, please, if I may. So Ms. Vasquez, I had a question to the lineup that you're working on right now because either there's a conflict between the witnesses or there's a failure to communicate among the witnesses offline or there's multiple views within the company. But we need a very clear answer to, I'm going to try to answer I think the way the question was phrased by Mr. Brady is perfectly clear, which is in the context where there is simultaneously a recovery from ratepayers of a capital expenditure on the one hand, and an effort to seek funds from FEMA for that very same capital expenditure. And it turns out that the money from FEMA comes. Is it Genera's official view, and is it Genera's practice that some portion of that delta, well, no, yeah, never mind the delta, that reimbursement counts as a savings that becomes evidence supporting a bonus? You probably could have said it better, Mr. Brady, but is that basically it in a nutshell?
Yes, I believe his testimony is inconsistent with what Mr. Payen's and others have described in this hearing to date.
All right. Again, nobody's making any accusations, but we have got to get this clear and documented. And when I say documented, I mean documented, A, as official policy of the company rooted in something, whether it's the OMA or some PREP order or something else, and B, we need to know where it applies in terms of money sought in the current rate case. And the reason for that latter point is so that the commissioners, if they wish in their final order, can require some method of record keeping and reporting so that we know precisely what is happening. Again, nobody's suggesting illicit intent at the moment, just trying to get clear what's going on. And am I clear so far, Ms. Vasquez?
You are.
Are you satisfied so far, Mr. Brady, before I complicate it a little bit more?
Satisfied in what sense?
That the question that you want answers to has now been stated.
I've asked the questions on this that I would like to of the CEO, yes.
All right. But now I'm worried about intra-corporate communication. And so I need some kind of explanation for why we have this difference in perspectives between what we heard last week and what we're hearing today, if that's possible. And Mr. Irizarry, happy to hear from you, sir. Just 1 second, please.
I want to make sure we understand what we said that other day, because it's a little bit slightly different of what Brady is bringing to the CEO. What we said that we were talking about using Genera employees in a project, and then that project is actually gets to be a federally funded project. So I believe Genera said that amount that those employees were paid could be paid by the federal funded projects. But I believe when Brady did the question of capital projects, I believe Genera stated that was totally different, a different aspect. So I believe the Genera witness only focused on having Genera employees working a capital project, but then that project turned into a federally funded project. So that salary of those employees, of those hours spent, Genera is going to get paid by federally funded money, and that would be the savings that would be shared between the people of Puerto Rico and Genera. But I don't believe they said capital projects. So just want to clarify that.
Respectfully, Commissioner, I have a different memory, and my notes are also to the contrary, but the transcript will say what it says. I believe that Genera's prior witnesses were fairly clear that if federal funds came in on a project that was originally NFC, they would take the position that those funds represented savings because they were no longer paid by the ratepayers, and therefore the 50% profit sharing provision of the GOMA would be triggered.
Okay, 1 second. There's a lot of people. Mr. Irizarry, now is. Go ahead, sir.
El comisionado está en lo correcto. Esa sí es la posición de Genera. No es, la posición de nosotros no es que cuando es un costo capital de un proyecto se nos otorgue el 50% si vienen fondos federales a pagar el costo capital. Esa no es nuestra posición. Esa es nuestra posición. Cuando es labor, sí.
Okay, well, we have what we have, and we're going to get what we get, and we'll find out what we need to find out. And let me see, Ms. Vasquez, did you have a concern that you wanted to state?
Mr. Payens is here if to clarify anything.
Well, if there's clarity that you can add to what just occurred, this is the time to do it. I still want to see the write-up, but Mr. Payens, you're still under oath, sir, and welcome. And what do you have to tell us?
Morning, Ricardo Payens, for the record. Yeah, definitely, that's not what I said. But when Mr. Brady is representing, that's not what I said. What I said,
I'm sorry, I object to this. I was in the middle of the line of cross. I was not crossing Mr. Payens, and arguing over the transcript that's already taken down and has occurred really is not a productive use of our time.
All right, 1 second. I appreciate what you just said, Mr. Brady. All I want to know right now, I think Mr. Brady is correct. Nobody's going to accuse you of anything right now. Just insert some clarity, if you can, to the question, and I'm going to turn it back to Mr. Brady. So just focus on that, please, Mr. Payens.
Of course, once again, Ricardo Payens for the record.
Slowly.
Yes, I was very clear.
No, I just said, just focus now on what the
Okay.
situation is.
Okay. In terms of federal funding, we are not either, it's not legal to pursue bonuses or incentives out of a federal reimbursement for capital projects. That's not legal. And that's not something we've ever done, and that is not something Genera will do in the future either. We mentioned about the Cat C, and I explained what the Cat C is, how it works. If we are able to recover and make eligible Category C funding, that's something we may pursue in the future. We haven't done it yet, and it's something we haven't done yet, but it's something we may consider. And it was a discussion with the commissioner on discussing how the federal funds work. So that's it's very clear that on the capital projects, Genera hasn't ever requested incentives for the savings by reimbursement of federal funding. That's and the other important thing, we even discussed about opportunities on how if we make future federal projects eligible. Let's say that we had, and we've discussed with you alternatives on how to pass that saving to the ratepayer. That's something, and we are willing to do that. That's something we will like. We've been proactive in informing that we identify future further federal funds, and we're not requesting, and we will not be requesting reimbursement for that. I'm sorry, incentives for that.
All right, Mr. Brady, carry on, please.
Thank you. Now, you were questioned by Mr. Hempling and Commissioner Torres regarding a possible incentive to budget at a higher level in order to receive incentive compensation. Do you recall that?
Sí.
And you mentioned that the way that you ensure that doesn't occur is to benchmark Genera's budget against PREPA's budgets, right?
Prepas. El budget de generación de prepa.
You're aware that PREPA still exists today, right?
Sí.
And PREPA continues to have a budget today?
El presupuesto que me refería era al presupuesto de generación de prepa antes de que Genera comenzara operaciones.
Are you aware that Genera continues to have a budget for generation assets today?
Sí.
Sorry, did you mean PREPA in that question? You said
No, I'm sorry. It's hard with the translator, and there. Also, I would ask that you pause after I finish the question because she's a little behind, just because we're going fast.
Ask the question again, please, sir.
So, are you aware that PREPA continues to have a budget for generation assets today?
Just look at me. Go ahead.
Sí, prepa mantiene un presupuesto para operar y mantener los embalses, las hidroeléctricas.
So Genera's role is more limited than PREPA's was before Genera took over, right?
Sí.
And because it's a more limited role, one would expect the budget to be lower, right?
Objection, misleading.
There's nothing misleading about it.
Pero es que yo no sé las operaciones de prepa, no sé si ellos, ¿verdad? Si el presupuesto que tienen actualmente es suficiente o no para hacer las operaciones de ellos. Yo no tengo ningún tipo de conocimiento de lo que ellos hacen el día a día con la hidroeléctrica.
Okay, well, let me try it this way. If PREPA came to you tomorrow and said Genera now needs to manage all the hydro assets, you would probably ask for a higher budget to do that, right?
Que no estoy seguro que...
Wait a second.
Wait,
Okay.
go ahead. Just look at me.
Es que Genera no tenemos ningún interés de manejar las hidroeléctricas en estos momentos, eso no podría contestarse esa pregunta.
I understand it's a hypothetical. I'm not saying you're interested in doing that. I'm just asking you to assume if that occurred, Genera would likely ask for a higher budget to now cover those additional assets, right?
Wait,
No sabría contestar la pregunta. Quizás.
well, it's actually pretty straightforward. If all of a sudden you had new responsibilities to operate and care for generation assets that you don't have responsibility for today, you would need more dollars to do that, right?
El mismo presupuesto que tienen actualmente.
All right, next question.
I'm sorry, there may have been a translation issue. The translator said with the same budget that they have currently. I'm not clear on what that means. Who's the they?
Bueno, por eso que si a mí me.
Wait a second. Are you able to testify in English, Mr. Rosario?
No.
Are you capable of doing that?
Objection. If he prefers to testify in Spanish, he will testify
Yeah.
in Spanish.
I've already allowed that, but this is a pretty simple question. I'm going to try one more time. And I know you're not trying to evade, and I appreciate that. It's just a question to get things going, and that you have right now a budget associated with your own with the generation for which you presently have responsibility for, correct, sir?
Sí.
And if for some reason Genera was now given responsibility to operate and care for not only the legacy generation assets that you have today, but also PREPA's generation assets, you would need more budget to care for this additional set of assets, right?
Bueno,
Wait a second.
Go ahead, sir.
Yeah.
yo asumiría que nos daría el mismo presupuesto que PREPA tiene actualmente. Nos añadirían ese presupuesto.
Okay, all right. You would expect they would give you the same budget that PREPA has currently, but that would be additional to your existing budget. Is that correct, sir?
Sí.
Okay, it was just a simple math question he was getting to. Please carry on, Mr. Brady.
So when you're benchmarking against PREPA's past budgets, you're benchmarking against a level that also included PREPA's management of the hydro assets.
Wait.
No, solamente los legacy generation assets que nosotros manejamos.
All right, well, let me make sure I'm not getting lost. When you talked about benchmarking in your conversation with me first thing this morning, do you remember that, sir?
Sí.
The budget that you say you were looking at PREPA for purposes of comparison was their budget when they were operating the generation assets that you now operate today. Is that correct?
Sí, sin las hidroeléctricas.
Okay, we just wanted to understand what you were comparing. Thank you. Carry on, Mr. Brady.
So what part or parts of the PREPA budget are you actually comparing to?
Yo lo acabo de responder.
The answer is the legacy generation units.
Que nosotros manejamos.
Part of the reason that Genera was selected as a private operator was to obtain cost savings, right? And so when you compare to pre-Genera levels, you're not considering any savings that Genera has achieved over time, right?
¿Puedes plantear eso de otra forma? No entendí el statement.
Sure. So Genera is trying to achieve savings on an ongoing basis, right?
Sí.
And you would hope to do that year after year, right? So when you compare, let's say, the fiscal year 26 budget to 2022 PREPA budget, you're not factoring in any of the savings that Genera may have achieved between those two dates, right?
No.
Do you recall earlier today you were asked about again the incentives to essentially inflate the budget? And specifically with respect to your executives, you said, I don't believe they would authorize you said that I don't believe any executive in Genera would do something like that. We are all professionals. Do you recall that?
Sí.
So you are essentially trusting your executives not to be influenced by a potential conflict. Is that right?
Sí.
And that's the process you have in place to prevent conflicts in terms of your executives' actions.
Sí.
Okay, and then you also mentioned that if you had an inflated budget in the hypothetical that was posed, you didn't believe that the P3 would authorize an incentive fee in that situation. Do you recall that?
Sí.
Are you saying that the P3 has independent authority under the GOMA to deny performance incentives, even if based on the math, there appears to be one?
Wait.
Okay, so just so the record is clear, you're saying that if, according to the math, Genera would be owed a $20 million performance incentive, P3 could go in and say, we don't believe that's right, we're going to give Genera zero. Has that ever occurred?
Sí.
I'm not sure you understood the question. Has it ever occurred that the P3A has denied an incentive in the context that Mr. Brady was describing? Wait.
Sí. Y un ejemplo, el primer año de Genera, nosotros sometimos un informe al AP3 y sí, ellos nos denegaron unos incentivos. Correcto.
What was P3's basis for denying the incentives in that
Objection
instance?
calls for a legal opinion.
Well, this particular question, he's simply asking what the witness knows about what reasons that the P3A gave. That report on those reasons is not itself a legal opinions, counsel.
Right now, there is a current case related to these incentives. That's part of the reason the chairman stopped this conversation, because it is a current case before the PREP related to Genera's incentives.
Right. Well, again, I don't know where this is going yet. Right now, the question pending is simply now I can't remember the question pending, but I think it was merely asking him to report on what the P3A had said, counsel. Let me get that question again and the answer, and we'll see where this goes.
Yes,
One second. I want to make sure that, is there some other concern, Ms. Vasquez?
Yes, that is part of the case before the appeals court right now.
Okay, well, that's nice to know. There can be a lot of cases before the appeals court right now, but right now I haven't got a question that's objectionable. So let me get this question again. Let me hear the answer, and we'll see what's next. I didn't know that the Court of Appeals could stop me from learning about what's going on here about incentives. Let's ask that question again, please.
Yes, and for the record, the relevance here is that he has specifically cited the P3's ability to make judgments about the incentive fee as a guardrail that prevents conflicts, and we're entitled to prove that in cross-examination.
again, and I fully agree that both witnesses, Mr. Saka and Mr. Irizarry, have pointed to the presence of the P3A as part of the process that they depend on. Having acknowledged that there is the potential for conflict, it's part of the process that they rely on to prevent that conflict. And so it is relevant to the concern about ratepayers bearing costs of conflict, the quality of the P3A review, and the extent to which our two CEOs depend on that quality. So let's, again, get the question, but we'll go slowly and we'll see what comes next. The question again, please.
Yes, so Mr. Irizarry, you mentioned that in year one of Genera's operation, it applied for a performance incentive payment from the P3, and the P3 denied it. And so what I would like to know is what was the reason or reasons that the P3 denied it?
Yep. And he's asking strictly for your memory of what they said. No evaluation is asked for by you. Go ahead, sir.
Sí, sí.
1 second. Go ahead, sir.
So, en este momento no recuerdo específicamente por qué fue que lo denegaron, pero eso se podría proveer si es necesario. No tengo problema.
Well, we can all look it up too if it's a public document. Next question, please.
No, I don't think it is.
All right. Well, let's see if Mr. Brady wants it. Next question, please.
Do you recall the general reason or reasons?
Objection as an answer. He said he did not recall.
Well,
No, respectfully, he said he didn't recall the specific
I've got
reasons.
it. I've got it. That's Mr. Brady is correct. Often I can rule once I hear the objection, but if I need help, I'll ask for a response. Go ahead. Do you remember anything at all about the reasons? Tell us what you remember, sir.
No,
1 second. Go ahead, sir.
En este momento no recuerdo. No recuerdo cuál fue la razón.
Okay, next question.
Okay, and I believe you just mentioned that this is not a public decision, right?
Documento público.
I don't think the translator heard your response.
Un documento público.
No, the question is the reasons that the P3A had, are those reasons public? Do you know?
No, lo que dije fue que no es un documento público.
Right, it's not public.
Correcto.
Oh, okay. So as we sit here today with you on the stand, there's no way for the Energy Bureau or the parties in this case to understand the nature of the P3's reasoning for denying these incentives, and you've said you don't recall, right?
Objection argumentative.
Well, it's just a statement of the facts as Mr. Brady understands them. And so it's a fair question. Is there any enlightenment that you can give us today as to the reasons why the P3A said no? And I think your answer is no, there is no memory that you have. Is that correct?
Sí, en este momento no me recuerdo.
Well, let me ask you what I guess some would call a softball question, but you may find it an uncomfortable question, and Mr. Brady will follow up. If you can't tell us what reasons that the P3A gave for saying no, and if we can't read about it, how do you expect the Energy Bureau to rely on the presence of the P3A as a key protection against the potential for conflicts that we have discussed? Because right now you've given me two things, okay? One is your own internal practices and, of course, your leadership and the culture that you create. And the other is the presence of the P3A. But with respect to the P3A, what Mr. Brady is getting at is the Energy Bureau, whose job it is to police conflicts and ensure that no ratepayers' costs are higher because of conflicts, really has no way to assess the quality and the objectivity of the P3A review. What can you tell us about that to change? What I'm saying is my sense right now that the business about the P3A is interesting to know about, but there's nothing there for the Energy Bureau to actually rely on.
Mr. Hempling, if I may, The case is currently in the appeals court, so it is a public document, and the PREP is part of that case as well.
Okay, well, right now, what I'm interested in is the strength or lack of strength of the two witnesses' insistence that the presence of the P3A in the process is something that the Energy Bureau should rely on, when at the moment, based on this examination by Mr. Brady, I can't tell what there is to rely on. And again, I want to go to the witness who is relying on that feature to tell me anything else about it. Go ahead, sir.
I want to clarify something before we continue. The PREB is the one who makes the final decision. You can go, it's a public docket. You could go to docket NEPR MI 2025-0002, and there P3 and Genera files all its incentives reports. And that's where all the documents are. So PREB is aware of all the incentives reports, and we're the one who makes the final approval. It's not P3. But we do take into consideration P3's recommendation and why they approved or not approved. So it is a public docket.
All right. Thank you. Thank you for that, Commissioner. That was important information. And anything else to say on this before I think we move on?
No,
Go ahead, sir.
yo iba a añadir eso, que el P3, nosotros, eso se sometió luego al PREP. Y el PREP es la última jurisdicción, ¿verdad?, que aprueba o desaprueba. O sea que también, además del P3, está el PREP, el negociado ANG.
Right. Okay, Mr. Brady, I don't know what else we can get on this particular topic, but please proceed.
So as you mentioned, or as your counsel mentioned, this is currently in an appellate process, right? This dispute we've been talking about.
Yes.
So it's not the case that if P3 decides that an incentive fee request is improper, Genera would just automatically accept that or has to automatically accept that.
Objection argumentative. I think we've cleared where the case is, and it's trying to be argumentative with the witness.
Well, it's a matter of law that the Genera has a legal right to go to court about this, and it has chosen to exercise that legal right. That's on the record. The bondholders are free, of course, to use that in their brief. Next question, please.
Thank you. And I'm just asking a little bit more broadly, not just this specific instance, but that is something that Genera could do generally if this circumstance arises again, right?
And that would be your decision?
Sí.
So the P3A's presence in protecting the customers from conflicts of interest is not rock solid if you can contest the P3A's actions. Do we agree?
Objection calls for a legal opinion.
Thank
This
you,
is
Ms.
not the witness for that, Mr. Hempling.
Thank you, Ms. Vasquez. I don't agree, but I'll rephrase the question in a way that I'll rephrase the question. Here's a problem. Now, you know, I'm just the hearing examiner. I don't vote. I'm just here to build a record, and I challenge everybody, and I help everybody, and I just try to make the process go along. But here's what I'm seeing, Mr. Irizarry, and I think a similar question would go to Mr. Saka. Both of you have asserted that a key feature of the conflict of interest policy that you say protects customers from costs associated with conflicts is the P3A's ability to act, comma, yet at the same time you reserve your legal right to challenge a P3 authority action that might have been protective of customers. And I ask you whether your legal right to challenge the P3A, do you think that that weakens the role of P3A in terms of your own reliance on it?
I'm so sorry to object, Mr. Hemley. This is Brett Solberg for the
Don't
record.
be sorry to object. Nobody else is. Go ahead.
To the extent that this is directed at Mr. Saka, that question is inconsistent with his testimony.
All right, fair enough. I'll try to remember that.
Correct.
I'll call on you when your time comes, okay?
Thank you, sir.
This is a useful thing to say, Mr. Solberg, and you're right on the tip of your toes. But do you understand my question, sir?
Sí.
Okay, you've asked us to rely on the P3 as part of your foundation, and now you're telling us that you have the legal right, which I'm not going to, quarrel with, that it's not really a firm foundation. And what do you have to say about that concern, sir? It's all yours. 1 second.
Son dos temas diferentes. Está el 3PPO, que es para cuando las matrices de tanto Luma como Genera quieran participar de un proceso. Pero este tema específico del incentivo, el 3PPO no lo evalúa. Se evalúa por P3 y su director ejecutivo en ese momento. Quiero clarificar eso.
Okay, Mr. Brady, again, I don't know how much more we can get. I think you've opened up. I think you've found some things that are useful for all of us. And can I suggest we move on because we have other topics, if we can?
Yes, just a few questions for Mr. Saka. Good morning, Mr. Saka.
Good morning.
Do you recall earlier this morning you were testifying regarding the compliance department at Luma?
Yes,
And you said something to the effect that we, Luma, have a slew of different matters that have to be checked upon. One is if a parent company will be participating in a bid. Do you recall that?
I do.
Okay, so by having a slew of matters that need to be checked on, what you meant is that there are many situations where you have potential conflicts that you need to investigate, right?
I will tell you what I meant. What I meant is that when you have so much money flowing through the process, you have to check on multiple different things. I will give you a few examples. One of them, making sure employees speak up if they see something that's non-compliant, including our leaders. Another one is non-relation policy, meaning what is your relationship with different people? And I can continue to list for you the different matters that we look at. When I say slew of things, is that we're looking at respecting employees. We're looking at people able to have a direct line with a third party where they can report anything that is misconduct, conflicts of interest. It's an entire 9-page document that not only is it a document in writing, but it is something that I once a month have a meeting with the entire body of the employees and talk about two things. One of them is safety and the other one is compliance. So when I say the slew, I can define that to you if you have the time. I'll be happy to continue to read or provide you the document.
Thank you, Mr. Saka. Yes, I do think we are time constrained, so you don't have to read through the whole document. If necessary, your counsel can also ask you redirect questions. So I appreciate the long answer, but it may not be necessary for every question. And you gave the example of a parent company participating in a bid, right?
Yes, sir.
So would that be a bid for work on the T&D system in your mind?
That is correct. So specifically, just to give you an example, a distribution line or a transmission line where a parent company wishes to participate.
Okay, and that has actually occurred, right?
That has occurred.
And you expect it will continue to occur during the years of the OMA agreement?
If it were not to occur, I would resign.
Thank you. Lastly, I'm almost done, so this is not for you, Mr. Saka, but Mr. Payans disputed something not being in his testimony, so I just wanted to go back to the November 25th transcript. I posed the question to him. So it's your position that in an improvement scenario, we were talking about a hypothetical capital project, not a straight repair, Genera would keep $5 million of the $10 million federal dollars, and he testified in some cases, yes. Thank you.
I reserve the right to verify the transcript to confirm if that is correct or not.
Again, what I'm looking forward to is the write-up, and you can include sites to the transcript if you want, and we'll deal with the write-up when we get it. And what I would like, if possible, is for that write-up to be in the form of a late filed exhibit with a stipulation, if it's possible, between counsel that can go into evidence. And anybody can, in their briefs, contest, the credibility and the logic and the consistency of the document with other evidence. Okay. Now, I think somebody wanted to say something.
I did, sir.
Okay. Now, normally, I do the calling on people, not the other way around, but we're here to learn. What do you have to say, sir?
Thank you. Just want to make sure that I'm clear. Being a CEO of a company like Luma or any CEO that has a board of directors is a very delicate matter, especially on conflicts of interest. And you always want, as a CEO, to ask for two things not to be done, right? Wherever you're going to go work. One of them is, don't ask me to modify the books. And the other one is conflict of interest. On the conflict of interest side, the 3PPO has a contract with 3PA, which is right here, precisely to address anything where parent companies would be involved. Just wanted to make sure I was clear in saying that.
You say that in your testimony, and we're aware of that. All right. Okay, here's where we are. I want to move to the next area briefly, which is executive compensation. Luma and Hunera executive compensation. Sir, I'm sorry. I'm sorry, Mr. Agudayit. I apologize. So you were going to ask questions within this first area? Okay, non-repetitive questions, because I've got a morning and an afternoon to